Welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that helping your clients become the best and healthiest versions of themselves isn't just about what they eat or coming to the gym a few hours a week. We, as gym owners and coaches, have to focus on a holistic approach, looking at support systems, stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, and of course, exercise and nutrition. I'm your host, Nicole and Kayla, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of The Basics of Nutrition Coaching, CrossFit Preferred Nutrition course. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to make one step at a time to becoming the best nutrition coach and building an awesome habit-based coaching program.
Today, we are in part 2 of our How to Coach Clients Using a Habit-Based Approach series. Today's guest is Kayla Pollock. She is our Director of Coach Development, also a registered dietitian here at Healthy Steps Nutrition. In today's episode, we are going to talk about how to create a plan with a client. Last week, we talked about how to pick what habit to focus on first while using a client-centered approach. And this week, we are talking about once we have that habit, what do we do next? How do we best support our clients and help them every step of the way? I guarantee you are going to learn something from this episode. So excited for you to take a listen. We will get to it right after this message. Did you know that we are hosting a live event in Nashville, Tennessee? July 13th to the 15th. If you're an aspiring nutrition coach, a current nutrition coach, or you're a gym owner looking to prioritize a nutrition coaching program inside of your facility, this event is for you. It's for HSN mentoring clients and people that are not in the HSN mentoring family. We would love for you to join us in Nashville, Tennessee, so that you can connect with the HSN mentors, learn how to leverage a holistic and habit-based nutrition coaching program to better support your members and make a greater impact in your community. But that's not all. We're also going to be talking about professional development, leadership, how to have tough conversations, how to take care of yourself while taking care of your clients. I've seen too many gym owners recently feeling super burnt out, and even coaches. Events like this leave you feeling reinvigorated, excited to go back into your community and do the things so that you can ultimately live out your mission in life to help people take control of their lives and prioritize their health. I'd love for you to join us in Nashville, Tennessee. This event is in just a few weeks, July 13th to the 15th. We only have a few seats left, so make sure you click the link in the show notes and lock in your spot today. Hope to see you at the Gym Accelerator Summit in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's get to this episode with Kayla Pollock on how to coach clients using a habit-based approach, specifically how to create a plan for success. Enjoy. Hey, Kayla, it's been a long time. Welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast.
Happy to be back.
So last week we talked about how do you pick the lowest hanging fruit when working with clients, or how do you pick the right habit when focusing on a habit-based approach? And spoiler alert, there's not a absolutely right answer that everyone should start with the same thing. Go back and listen to part 1 of this series. I guarantee you will learn a lot to help provide a better experience in your coaching program. But today we're taking a deeper dive into how do you build a plan once you've figured out that habit? So we've got the lowest hanging fruit. We've got the thing that the client is excited to work on. How do we actually build a plan so that there's consistency and we're navigating a lot of things that would potentially derail the client? And, there was a research study. I recently listened to a book called The Power of Change by Craig Groeschel, very similar to Atomic Habits, but a faith-based. And he pulled a lot of different research studies. I was like, man, I just need a list of all of these research studies that are listed in this book because they're all really good. One of them was super interesting. It was based out of Great Britain. And basically they had thousands of people come together and they broke these people up into 3 groups. The first group was told to exercise at least once a week. The second group was told to exercise and told to read about the benefits of exercise for motivation. And then the third group was like, okay, we're going to exercise. Here's the days, here's the times, here's all of the things navigated, essentially creating this plan with these clients so that it's easy. You need to make the healthy choice, the easy choice, right? So what actually happened with these people? Well, the first group of people, on average, 35% of them were exercising. Second group, 38%. The third group, 91%. Here's the deal. If I could go from a 38% success rate with my clients to a 91% success rate with my clients, it is a no-brainer to do this with your clients. Like, that's it. Mic drop. Okay. So let's talk about, what does this actually look like? What's the goal of creating a plan, a linear path with clients, a plan for success, however we want to word it?
Yeah. So when we think about it, for that very reason, to increase the likelihood of success. But what we need to do, and I like to tell coaches this, break it down, right? Don't take anything for granted. We are going to pretend that our clients literally have no idea how to do a thing that we're asking them to do, a habit, right? And it's our job to guide them through the process to building the step by step, right? Understanding the why, knowing all the small things that we probably take for granted so that our clients know exactly what it is that they're going to do in order to find success, to have all the confidence, ideally over 80, 90% confidence before leaving the office.
I think sometimes you said it best, we take for granted what people know. And the truth is, they actually probably know. You're going to just help get the answers out of them to create this plan that makes sense for them. But they have an insight into their life that you don't have. And not everyone's plan to reach the same outcome is going to be the same, because we have to make it easy for them. And I think when I started doing this with clients, my ultimate goal was, I want to make it so stupidly obvious so they don't have to think about anything when they leave my office. We've already mapped it out. So essentially now it's just a checklist. Mm-hmm. And I think this is so important because people are so busy, right? We've overcommitted ourselves. We're going from our office consult to the whirlwind of life, trying to navigate work, kids, all the things. And to think that they can map this out, that they have the brain capacity, the time to map it all out, is really setting your coaching program up for not a successful outcome, and them not being successful, because we want it to be easy for them. In order to be easy, they need to know what to do every step of the way.
Oh, 1,000%. And when we can make it easy, there's more doors, more opportunities for the things we can work on with clients. There was one thing that blew my mind, opened my eyes, but we have this line, right? And this line is the line towards actually being success with changing a behavior or making a habit. And what they were kind of looking at is, how hard is the thing we're trying to work on, and how much motivation they have. And I like to actually change that motivation, because that is important, right? We talked about it in episode 1, so go watch that one first. But I like to think about this as their confidence level, right? So if I just tell someone, okay, go do this thing, and it's kind of hard and they have very little confidence because they got to figure it out, they're not going to meet that line for success. But if we give them that checklist, that's kind of like a no-brainer for them, that we are doing all the things to set them up for success, it's going to feel easier, and they can tackle and accomplish more things, which is only going to skyrocket their progress towards success.
I truly believe that success breeds motivation. I truly believe that. When you're seeing wins, you're more motivated to continue. But if you're not seeing wins because the bar is set too high, you're going to be like, man, I can't do this. I can't do this. Now this self-talk, now you're self-sabotaging your ability to reach that goal. So why not make it so easy? I think we need to give some examples about this, because, at big picture, our goal is to make it very easy for clients to accomplish whatever habit they're working on. But what does it actually look like when you're creating this plan with clients?
Yeah. So the first thing, obviously, we need to figure out what that habit is. But then I actually like to start with the client, why is this important? The client needs to know why they're going to do something if they're actually going to make a change. We always say this within our HSM family, but clients who know the real reason why are typically more successful. And once we've just recentered and connected with that, we start at the top. What's the first thing we need to work on? What did I work on just with a client not that long ago? Oh, working on post-recovery protein. That was a huge miss. And there were a lot of things I took for granted that we got to dive into when we dove into building a plan. And when I asked, okay, so what's the first step? I need to have my shaker bottle and protein, because we were just going to do a protein shake, ready to go. And when I asked that, I was like, yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. If you're going to drink it, you should probably have it. But then I asked even more questions. Well, great. What needs to happen in order for you to have it ready to go? And what it turned into was realizing that while the goal was to have a protein shake after her early morning workout, the action or the plan actually started the day before to even make that a possibility. So it turned into, great, well, at the night before, how can we get you set up for success for that post-protein shake after the workout? And it all started with, what's the first thing you need to think about?
It's basically having them take all the guesswork out of it, right? Do you have the protein? Do you have the shaker bottle? Where are you going to put it to remember? Like all of the little things. So it's stupidly obvious for this person to complete the habit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So kind of like finishing up her plan, what it looked like was she was just super busy. She had to get the kids to school, then get to the workout. And by the time she gotten to the end of the workout, she was so focused on her kids earlier that she didn't have the things that she needed. So the nighttime routine was when she was getting lunches ready for the next day, she also got her gym bag ready for the next day, which included having the shaker bottle, which she did have, with the protein, which she did have, scooped, ready to go in the bag. So when she was in that hustle bustle in the morning, all she had to do was grab her gym bag, which she was already doing, and head out the door, and it was there for her. Another question we had to kind of make sure is, how are you going to, make the shaker bottle? Do you need to bring water? Is there water there for you? So we got to dive into those things as well. But if I hadn't started to ask those open-ended questions about, what's the first step, and it got us to the day before, I probably would have taken for granted, well, great, I know that she just needs to get a shaker bottle and protein and it's super easy, and she's going to go about her day having a post-workout shake and it'll be super successful. So asking those open-ended questions, figuring out what is step one that happened the day before, was a game changer for that success for her.
I love that. Let's do another example, like a breakfast, right? So in part one, you actually talked about a client who was struggling in the afternoon with overeating. And it really probably came into, hey, we're not fueling our bodies early in the day, and now we're craving foods later in the day. So if we're talking about a balanced breakfast, there's probably some education that needs to be defined. Like, what is a balanced breakfast? Because some people might think like, okay, I'm going to grab oatmeal and I'm going to be good to go. But what does it actually look like? How would you help a client create a plan if the outcome, the habit was, let's have a balanced breakfast?
Yeah. So if we remember in part one, go watch it. We provide education and we keep it client centered. So in that education, I was explaining balance means a protein, a carbohydrate, and a fat. If the client, and I asked them, what breakfast food would you be excited? Remember, we're excited about it. Would you be excited to have in the morning? And they say oatmeal. I asked, well, great. Where does that fit into our balance? And maybe they say carbohydrates, or maybe we need to provide the right resource to help them see, this is my carbohydrate. What are we missing? Protein and fat. Great. Let's talk about what we can add to that oatmeal in order to get the proper balance that's going to make sure that you're fueled, energized, and ready to go.
I love that. And it might be pulling up the HSN recipe site and saying like, hey, here's a bunch of different options. What would you be excited to try? How can we turn this into a balanced breakfast? Like, hey, double chocolate overnight oats is an awesome option. One of my favorites. We're actually playing around with a blueberry sorbet overnight oat right now, which is currently my favorite. But The point is, okay, if we're talking about oatmeal, could we do an overnight oat? What does that look like for the client? Would they be excited to try potentially that? And then what happens? Let's say we decided double chocolate overnight oats. That was the thing that we were going to work on, or that's the recipe they wanted to try.
Perfect. We're excited for it. I'm excited for it. Awesome. Great. If you haven't tried it, try it. First things first, what do we need in order to actually make the overnight oats? So looking at the ingredient list, I usually ask, what do you have? What do you need? Let's say they list off 3 things. Well, great. When is the next time you're going to go grocery shopping so we can pick these things up? And I know when we can get the party started with our overnight oats. We figure out those things. How are you going to remember to grab those things on this day? If that's not part of their normal routine, especially if they're those routine shoppers that do the same route every single time, we need to have those external cues to, again, make this as easy as possible. Well, fast forward, we've got all the ingredients at home. We still have to carve out time to put it all together and make it. For some people, that looks like bulk making a few of them to grab for the next few mornings. And for some, it looks like making it every night for the night before. So asking, when are you going to have time to prepare it? And let the client be the expert on themselves, because they are, and let them guide that process and tell you, well, I'm super busy in the morning, and honestly, night times are hit or miss. So I think I need to make a few ahead of time. Great. What day can that be? How are we going to remember? What needs to change in your environment to set you up for success to even remember and be successful with this? Do you need help with it? Is there anybody that can help you put this together? Overnight oats is a great recipe for families because it's just throwing everything into a container. So invite the kids, make it an activity that, the family can do together. And then once we get to that point, even further, we're not done there. We fast forward that next morning, they're made. What do you need to do in your crazy morning to stop and remember? I need to grab my oatmeal, and even ask them, well, then when are you going to eat it? Right. And it's those things that we could take for granted, like, oh, it's made, they'll just grab it and eat it, that I want to make sure I get ahead of. So the client knows, again, exactly how they're going to find success.
This is an important piece of the puzzle, because if you're working with clients and you're not checking in with them and seeing, like, are you doing these things that you said you were going to do, and you haven't mapped all of this out, there will likely be barriers that are preventing them from being consistent. And if too long goes by and they're not doing the stuff, they're not going to see results. And then they're going to leave, and your program didn't work, when really, like, we didn't set them up for success to navigate all of the potential things that could be the barriers. Another thing that often comes up when we're navigating all of this is that we realize, hey, I'm working with Bob, but Susie, the wife, is actually the one that does all the prepping, portioning, grocery shopping. And we actually need to loop Susie in to this plan and to this conversation so that ultimately it can be executed.
Yeah. Figuring out, when we look at all the different steps for the plan, who is really in charge of that plan, game changer. Because if so-and-so is going grocery shopping, how are they going to know that you need these things to be successful? Or if you're not the chef in the household, and maybe it's Jason Aucoin, then what information does Jason need to help you be successful? And how can we get that information to the person who needs it? And that's, I think, a unique position that us coaches get to be in that often gets pushed aside or forgotten. We can help facilitate conversations that our clients need to have with their inner circle, with their support system, in order to find success.
100%. Now, I honestly love the idea of inviting a spouse to a meeting so that everyone can be on the same page. Because what we don't want to happen is people are sometimes adverse to change. And then there to be friction because, like, hey, you're cooking all of this stuff, but now I need you to cook something different. Like, hey, let's be all on the same page and try to make it easy for someone to actually facilitate and do the things.
Yeah, 1,000. Love it.
Any other things coming up for you when you're thinking about creating a plan with clients that coaches should be thinking about?
Yeah, I think we've touched on all of it, but I do want to put an emphasis on going out of your way to ask about barriers after you think the plan has been set up, and even during it too, intermittently. What I like to practice is, hey, going to the store, are there any potential barriers that could hold you back from grabbing the things that you need? What about we've made it, or maybe we haven't made it? What potential barrier could hold you back from making it? And then here's the thing, there are going to be barriers. Life is not this perfect routine that we can fit anything into. So at that time, I keep the client being the expert on themselves, keeping a client-centered approach. And I want to ask them, well, let's imagine that happens. What are you going to do? Or in other words, what's a good plan B? So if all else fails, we can try that to increase the odds for that success. So I think barriers is one of those things we definitely need to take special attention when we're working with our clients to build this plan.
I love that. And to take that a step further, when we're discussing barriers, it can also be something great in weekly check-ins as well. So you created this habit, you've put it in the HSN app, your clients are going in and checking it off every day. But what if you notice, today's Friday, we're recording this episode. What if you notice this week on your Friday check-in day that it hasn't happened yet? What happens then?
I asked them about it and I brought it to their attention because it's my job, right? It's our job as a coach to keep them accountable. They know what they need to do, but doing it is a different story. And that's why we have coaches. So I'd say, hey, I noticed that we aren't checking off our habits in the app. I want clarity. Is it you're having the breakfast and you're not checking off your habit? Or was there a barrier we weren't expecting? And whatever the answer is, how can we navigate around that this next week so we can find success? So check in on them and ask them what's going on and how we can move forward. But also on the opposite side, if and when our clients are doing really well, we also need to engage them then. We highlight their bright spot. Awesome job, 100% on your habit this week. What do you feel you learned this week that we can move forward with, right? A reflection time. And also, what do we feel we can add on to this as we go into our upcoming week? If we stick with breakfast, there are some people that are going to love eating the same breakfast until they absolutely cannot have that breakfast. And there are other people who need some variety. So having those virtual check-ins has been really powerful for keeping the client excited and engaged, because we can make those small tweaks to the plan and add into it when we need to keep it interesting and have them moving forward. And again, just really skyrocketing their overall success and progress towards their goals.
I love that. If you're not doing weekly check-ins, video messages, we know are super engaging for clients, because then we know we're not a robot. We're keeping it client-centered. This is especially for you. And also allows you to deepen the relationship with that client, increasing their success, but also length of engagement to support them in reaching their long-term goals, but also build a more successful nutrition coaching business. So win-win overall. Mm-hmm. I love that. Weekly check-ins are huge. Kayla, thank you for coming on to take a deeper dive into how to create a plan. I think the biggest takeaway for coaches here is don't assume, navigate everything so that clients can walk away knowing exactly what they need to do to execute on the action that and the habit that they're working on.
Yeah, I encourage everybody, try this with your clients, try to build that plan and see the outcome, because you're going to be pretty happy with it.
I think the coolest part of doing this with clients, especially when you're consistent with it, is they're going to start coming to the things with like, hey, I want to work on this. Help me navigate all of the things so that I can be consistent with this thing. And it's a really fun process to do with clients when they start coming to the session with what they're wanting.
Yeah. Benefit of a client-centered approach.
Kayla, thank you for all that you do. And I'm sure we'll have you on the podcast again soon.
Yes. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Kayla on creating a plan and path for success with clients using a habit-based approach. When you're doing this with clients, you need to make sure that we are using self-management. Let your first thoughts be your first thoughts. You are speaking with your clients to help them create this plan. You're just guiding them every step of the way. And your role, most importantly, is to keep them accountable to the plan that they create. Don't assume that they know what to do, how to take a goal and actually be consistent. Walk them through every step that they're going to need to think about so that they can be consistent. When you do this, your clients are going to see better results, and ultimately, they're going to stick around longer because they're doing the things and they see the value of the accountability that you are providing them. Hope that you start using this in your coaching practice and you start seeing the benefits of a habit-based approach. So much fun when we're truly transforming the lives of our clients so that ultimately they can live out their purpose in life. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review. That really helps this podcast reach more people. All right, we'll see you back here next week.